Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on the 3D Critic channel. I'm David, your host, and today I'm going to give you guys my performance review on the revised version of the Lebron 21s. The original Lebron 21s were an excellent performer from top to bottom. Traction was really good once you broke it in. The cushioning is really good overall once you break it in. And the materials were very premium and it had a very nice fit and lockdown structure. That way you won't move around in the foot. And the support was top notch on top of that. And however, there was some complaints that the shoe itself was a little too heavy underfoot. And people have complained a lot about that, and that was bogging them down for some people. So I was curious to see what kind of updates they have done to the revised version, and if it is a better performer overall compared to the regular version. So here's what I think. For me personally, when it comes to the try-on experience, it is fairly straightforward. It's pretty much the same as the regular Lebron 21s. However, the fit is a little bit different. In the regulars, it was a true to size fit and it was very snug. While in the revised version, it does run a little long and it is a little more forgiving when it comes to the width. So it's probably due to the leather shell that they removed from the OG version that they had, and it's just a engineered base layer that you have right here. So when it comes to the fit for me, when I went true to size, they ran a little long. So when it comes to narrow footers, I would probably go down half a size because of how long it runs. And for wide footers, you should be good to go going up half a size. But if you have a really wide foot, I would avoid these in general because the higher the size you get, the longer space you have in the forefoot. So I would avoid these if you have a really wide foot. And when it comes to pricing, it is the same as the original versions for $200. However, they are going on sale right now for a little over $150. So if you guys want a pair for yourselves to try out, I will leave a link in the description box below. Now, the traction pattern that you get on the revised version is the exact same pattern that you get on the regular version. However, on this pair, I found it to be really elite right out of the gate compared to the regular version where you did have to rubber it in just to get that elite level grip. So I had grip right out of the gates and it was a very sticky traction setup when I first started playing in this. And as a result of that, the combination of that, lateral movements were really good and it gave you quick responsive changes of direction when you are going side to side. And vertically, get-offs are really good as well, where you're able to get a really nice get-off with your first step. That way you can get up to speed really quickly. And the hard stops are really good. That way you can stop on a dime when you need to. So essentially, it performs the same as the regular Lebron 21s, just the warm-up phase was a little different in the regular version. And for dusty courts, in this pair, it didn't pick up dust at all, and I rarely had to wipe it down while I was playing in it, which is a significant upgrade to the regular version. I found it to be sliding a lot in the regular version, and I had to wipe them down constantly because of how much dust it picked up. So that was a slight difference when it comes to the dusty court conditions that you're going to deal with this. It is a little better in the revised version compared to the regular version, and the same goes for durability. From what I have noticed, the same traction pattern is on here, so it's pretty much the same, and the rubber itself is thin, but I didn't experience any signs of wear. There are slight signs of wear that you can see, whereas there's like little tears that you can see in the back half of the shoe, and some fraying that you get on the front, especially in the high wear areas. So that is also an upgrade in that case. Compared to the regular version, but I would avoid these outdoors in general, mainly due to how flimsy the rubber is overall, and they are thin grooves especially. So you should be good to go indoors, but outdoors I would avoid them in general. So my verdict overall, they're just like the regular version, but the break-in time is a little quicker and you get grip right away, and the dust performance is really good as well compared to the regular version, as well as the durability, but it is very slight. Now the cushioning for me, it basically carries over from the regular version because it is basically the same cushioning setup with the Cushlon 2.0 midsole, along with a Zoom turbo unit in the forefoot and an air zoom unit in the heel, which gave you really responsive forefoot cushioning. That way you're able to be really reactive on the court, and on top of that, it was very explosive too. With the midfoot shank plate that you get on the midfoot, gives you a nice springboard like effect on your step. That way you're able to be really explosive, getting up in the air really easily in these, and it was very repetitive when it came down to that. It was very resilient at that. And when you move into the heel, the cushioning is a little stiff at first, mind you. When it came to the impact protection, it did feel a little stiff. However, once you break it in, it is very forgiving and it is very compressible. That way you're going to have really good impact protection, and the heel strikes were phenomenal as well once you break it in the heel especially. And when it comes to fluidity, it is pretty much the same. Once you break it in, it is a very fluid heel to toe transition. That way you have a really smooth ride under your foot, and they're really snappy too. That way you won't feel bogged down and you're able to get up to speed really quickly in these. That way you have a really seamless transition going up and down the court, and it feels really easy and really fast at the same time. In the regular versions, it's pretty much the same thing across the board, so you can't go wrong with either version when it comes to the cushioning setup, and it felt pretty similar to me overall. Now, for the materials, this is where they departed from the leather shroud that you had from the regular version, and they just removed it entirely in the shoe. That way you're just going to have this engineered mesh upper cased in this plastic material, which feels stiff at first and it requires some break-in time, but once you do, it feels very forgiving in the forefoot, especially. That way it flexes with your feet really nicely. And it also exposes the mag wire cables that you get on the lateral and medial side of the shoe, which shows the overall support structure that you're going to get from the shoe. And the tongue is basically the same. You're going to get a nice padding on the tongue along with the embroidered pattern that you get on the inside, which feels really comfortable on your foot. And these really nice laces that you get were really forgiving on your foot when you lace them up. It didn't feel cumbersome and didn't pinch anywhere in the midfoot, so it was overall pretty comfortable. However, in the midfoot, I did find it to be a little uncomfortable on the side of my toe, especially in the midfoot where the Nike swoosh is. It does dig into my foot a little bit, and it caused some pain over a period of time. But once you break in the materials, it opens up really well. That way it doesn't feel too uncomfortable. And you also get the same Nike sphere padding in the heel, which molds really well to the back of your foot, and the padding is very nice overall. That way it molds directly in the heel. That way you won't move around too much. And aesthetically, it is a somewhat upgrade, depending on if you like the leather shroud or not. I liked how exposed the mag wire cables that you get overall, which was hidden somewhat in the regular version, but it did stick out a little bit. And I like the overall design of it. The chrome-plated swoosh sticks out like a sour thumb, giving the shoe a nice pop with this chrome finish that you have, along with the suede material that you get on the top of the tongue and in the back of this heel cup right here, which is reflective when it comes to the cables that you get in the back, which adds a really nice touch to it, and it still feels premium without the leather shroud. It's overall pretty good, and it does somewhat lighten up the shoe a little bit. That way it doesn't feel too heavy, and it didn't really feel that much of a difference, but once I broke it in, it felt a little lighter compared to the regular version. So you can't go wrong with either shoe, but I found the materials to be slightly lighter in this, and they were overall pretty comfortable once you broke it in. Now, as far as the lockdown is concerned, it is basically the same elite lockdown setup that you're going to get in the regular version. However, in the forefoot, it is slightly different because of how the shoe runs a little long and the width is just right for your foot. So you do slide a little bit in the forefoot when it came down to hard stops. But luckily, the lockdown system in the midfoot with these really thick laces allowing you to really cinch the midfoot really well. That way you're able to clamp it nice and conforms really well in the midfoot. That way it doesn't move around too much. And the lockdown in the heel, because of the Nike sphere padding that you get in the back, molds to your foot once you add moisture to it, and it sucks the back of the heel. That way you won't experience any heel slippage. So it was basically the same when it comes to the lockdown. However, I did notice a little bit of movement when it came to hard stops in the forefoot, but they are basically the same at the end of the day. The lockdown, in my opinion, is elite regardless of it, minus the movement in the forefoot when it comes to hard stops. Now, when you move into the support, I thought they would be a little less supportive because of the leather shroud that they removed, which gave it a really nice supportive feel when it comes to the materials. But I didn't notice any difference when it came to the lateral support. The materials themselves had enough rigidity, that way it doesn't give out on you. And you also have this rubber guard that wraps up on top of the material. That way you sit inside the midsole and it encases the forefoot a little bit, that way you won't roll over. And you also get a protruding outrigger from the outsole itself, that way you have a nice flat surface to dig into. And when you move into the midfoot, it's really supportive as well with the Nike swoosh that you get in the midfoot. It gives it additional support, that way you won't have any give from the material itself. And the heel, the stiff TPU heel counter that you get in the back is really rigid, that way you are basically clamped in the heel, that way you won't experience any movement inside the shoe. So it was overall pretty good when it came down to the lateral support. And torsional support and the overall base of the shoe is basically the same. You do get the same TPU midfoot shank in the midfoot, that way you have really good torsional rigidity in the forefoot, that way you won't experience any imbalances inside the shoe. And you get a fairly wide base from the outsole itself, giving you a nice flat platform to land on, that way you won't have any imbalances when it comes down to landing. So the support is basically the same compared to the regular version, so you can't go wrong with either version when it comes to overall support. And because of that, the support for me when it comes to the LeBron 21s in general were elite, laterally, torsionally, and when it comes to the overall base as well. So to sum it all up for you guys, the revised version of the LeBron 21 is the exact same as the LeBron 21, the regular version, but with a makeover in the materials. The traction is basically the same, but in the revised version, you get performance out of it right away, where the regular LeBrons, you have to break them in. Cushioning is basically the same. It's the same setup. The materials are the main deviation when it comes to the LeBron 21s, minus the leather shroud that you get in this version. Lockdown is basically the same. It is very elite across the board, minus in the revised version, it does open up in the forefoot and you do slide a little bit when it came down to hard stops. But overall, it's elite nonetheless. And the same goes for the support laterally, with the torsional support as well as the base. It basically carries over from the regular version. So if you like this version, I would absolutely recommend it to you guys. If you like the other version, go for that as well. Basically, comes down to overall preference. If you like the looks better in this revised version, go right ahead. I do also like it as well, along with the traction that you get right away, and you won't have to worry about the break-in time required for it. But if you would like to stay on a budget, the regular version are going for a little less than $100 right now, while you can get the revised version for a little over $150. So if you're on a budget, I would go for the regular LeBron 21s because they perform basically the same. But if you are not on a budget and you like the overall looks of the revised version, I would absolutely recommend it, and is a very solid performer and a slight upgrade to the regular LeBron 21s. Thank you guys for watching this video. This has been my performance review on the revised LeBron 21s. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and comment down below on what you think of this revised version. Is it better than the regular LeBron 21s? And I'd like to know your thoughts on if they perform the same basically, and if they feel a little lighter compared to the regular versions, because that's been the main complaint when it came down to the regular LeBron 21s. And if you have any other questions, feel free to comment down below as well. And as always, if you'd like to stay up to date with future videos that I'll be posting, hit the subscribe button down below, and it'll greatly support the channel as well. If you'd like to see my original review of the LeBron 21s, I'll leave it on this side of the screen right here. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, all of that information will be in the description box below as well. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this was beneficial to you guys, and until next time, keep shooting.